Chosen one. Wow, you've had this since your first breath. That spark inside you, that unshakable knowing, was never just intuition, it was divine design. And now that the dark night has lifted, your comeback begins. You were born carrying something ancient and magnetic, so powerful it made others uncomfortable. That's why they told you to tone it down, to stop dreaming so big. But your light was never the problem. Their denial was. As a child you saw through masks. They called it too sensitive, but it was spiritual sight. They couldn't handle the truth your energy revealed, so they tried to silence it. Yet that gift never died. It evolved. The dark night didn't destroy you, it refined you. And now the real you is rising, unapologetic, unstoppable, and ready to reclaim everything meant for you. Right now people are watching you, keeping tabs, waiting to see if you'll crawl back to the matrix with your tail between your legs. These observers want you to fail, need you to fail, because your success proves their excuses were always just excuses. Your courage exposes cowardice. Your expansion reveals how small some chose to stay. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. You're not just surviving this transition, you're dominating it. And by the time this message ends, you're going to understand exactly why you were always destined to win. This comeback isn't about returning to who you were before the dark night. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be before the world convinced you to be someone else. Before society told you to tone it down. Before family told you to be more practical. Before friends told you to stop being so intense. You're coming back to that original blueprint, the one you were born with, the one that's been waiting for you to remember it. Your nervous system went to war, not because you're weak, because you're finally strong enough to reject what was killing you slowly. When you live in survival mode for years, when you swallow your truth repeatedly, when you sacrifice your peace to keep others comfortable, your body keeps score, and eventually it crashes hard. The anxiety, the insomnia, the digestive chaos, the constant edge you've been living on. That wasn't random. That was your system purging decades of suppression. Your gut literally rejecting the garbage you've been feeding it. Your brain finally refusing to pretend everything's fine when nothing was fine. Your soul staging a full-scale rebellion against the life you were tolerating instead of living. It shows up in your physical body first. You start noticing patterns. Maybe you can't stomach certain foods anymore. Maybe being around certain people makes you physically ill. Maybe your body refuses to sleep in places that used to feel like home. That's not weakness. That's your system becoming so aligned with truth that it literally rejects anything false. Your body is evolving into a truth detector, and right now it's rejecting everything that doesn't match the frequency you're rising into. You might have noticed you can't consume the same content anymore. Shows that used to entertain you now feel empty. Music that used to move you now sounds hollow. Conversations that used to engage you now feel draining. This isn't you being judgmental. This is you outgrowing frequencies that no longer serve your evolution. Your consciousness is expanding, and your tolerance for low vibration experiences is shrinking. This is supposed to happen. This is you leveling up. You're not just surviving the crash, you're studying it. You're becoming a scientist of your own system. You're discovering that when you manage your stress, everything else falls into place. When you prioritize your nervous system, opportunities you couldn't see before suddenly become obvious. When you protect your peace like it's your most valuable asset, which it is, you unlock a level of clarity most people never experience. So you're making moves others can't understand. Meditating even though you hate sitting still. Working out even though you'd rather sleep in. Cutting out caffeine or alcohol or whatever else throws your system off balance. You're not doing this because some guru told you to. You're doing this because you've discovered the cheat code. Calm mind equals clear vision. Clear vision equals precise action. Precise action equals inevitable success. And you're not sharing this formula with anyone who isn't ready to receive it. The comeback starts here, in the physical, in the body, because you can't build an empire on a foundation that's crumbling. You can't create from a depleted state. You can't manifest from chaos. So the first order of business is restoration, getting your system back online, teaching your nervous system that it's safe to relax now, that the war is over, that you're no longer in danger. This is the unglamorous part of transformation that nobody talks about, but it's the most important part. Without this foundation, everything else collapses. Something is happening to your throat right now. Not physically, though you might feel it there too. Your authentic voice is coming online for the first time in your adult life. That voice that says exactly what you mean without apology. That voice that sets boundaries without guilt. That voice that demands respect as a baseline, not a bonus. That voice is activating and it's about to change everything. You've spent your entire life swallowing words that needed to be said, biting your tongue until it bled, staying silent to keep the peace, accepting scraps while others ate the whole cake. Every single time you did that, you trained people that you were controllable, that your needs were negotiable, that your boundaries were suggestions instead of requirements, and others got comfortable with that version of you, the quiet one, the accommodating one, the one who never made waves. But that version just died, and what's replacing it doesn't ask permission. It states requirements. It walks away from anything that doesn't align. It says this works or that doesn't, without caring who gets uncomfortable. Because you finally understand something that changes the entire game. No one ever died from speaking truth. No one ever fell to the floor and stopped breathing because of saying, "I don't like this," or "this isn't good enough," or "I'm walking away now." The people who told you that honesty is dangerous were the same ones benefiting from your silence. The ones who said setting boundaries was selfish were the ones violating yours daily. The ones who called you difficult when you started having standards were the ones who had been getting away with mediocrity. So discomfort with your voice activation, that's not your problem, that's theirs, and you're done making their problems yours. If this resonates with your inner knowing, hype this video to help fellow chosen ones find their way here. While everyone's watching to see if you'll fail, you've been moving in complete silence, building, creating, strategizing, discovering cheat codes that most people will never find because too many announce every move before making it. But not you. You learned that lesson the hard way. You learned that premature celebration invites unnecessary opposition. So now you move like a ghost, invisible until you've already won. These cheat codes you're discovering are specific to you. Maybe it's waking up before the world does to work on your vision. Maybe it's cutting out everyone who adds stress without adding value. Maybe it's saying no to most requests so you can say yes to the ones that actually matter. Whatever your codes are, the results are showing. You can feel it. You're more focused than you've ever been, more clear, more powerful. And you're not telling anyone about it until the results speak for themselves. But here's what you're really building in that silence. Standards. Unshakable, non-negotiable standards. You're becoming the person who walks into a nail salon and tells them exactly what you want, and if someone freestyles something you didn't ask for, you speak up immediately. You're becoming the person who collaborates on projects but doesn't let anyone hijack your vision. You're becoming the person who values time so highly that wasting it becomes impossible because you simply won't allow it. And this is where it gets interesting. Because every time you honor those standards, every time you speak up, every time you walk away from what doesn't serve you, you're sending a signal to the universe. You're saying, "I know my worth, I respect my value, I refuse to settle," and the universe responds to that signal, not with more struggles, with more opportunities, with better people, with situations that actually match your energy instead of drain it. You've been wondering why this transformation feels so lonely, why people you thought were friends suddenly feel like strangers, why family members who claim to support you are now questioning every decision. Here's why. These people were never your tribe. Roles got played in your life, but the true agenda was always about them, not you. And now that you're rising, masks are slipping. These people tried and failed at exactly what you're succeeding at right now. The attempt to break free from the matrix happened and ended in retreat. The try at building something meaningful got abandoned when discomfort arrived. The talk about living authentically settled for comfortable lies. So when your actual doing it gets witnessed, actually pushing through the hard parts that stopped others, something primal gets triggered. Not inspiration, jealousy, not admiration, resentment, not celebration, competition. Support existed when you were dreaming, when it was all hypothetical and safe and unthreatening. But the moment action started happening, the moment real moves began, suddenly concerns emerged, suddenly opinions about timing appeared, suddenly stories about someone who tried that and failed got shared. That shift from supporter to skeptic wasn't about protecting you. It was about protecting others from the discomfort of watching you succeed where giving up happened for them. You felt it before you understood it, that weird energy when you shared good news, that passive-aggressive comment disguised as concern, that sudden coldness after you accomplished something. The truth was being shown exactly who people were, but you were too kind to believe it, too empathetic to accept that people you loved could secretly want failure for you. But now you know better, now you see clearly, and clarity is power. The dark night revealed them. That's part of why it was so dark. You weren't just losing situations and opportunities, you were losing people. People you thought would be there forever, people you invested years into, people you would have sworn were ride or die. And watching true nature reveal hurt, worse than any situational loss. But here's the gift in that pain. The universe removed them before you got to the next level, because where you're going, betrayal from the inside would have been catastrophic. So exposure happened now, when the stakes were lower. So you're cutting cords without drama, you're creating distance without explanations, you're removing your energy from spaces where vampiring was happening, and panic is setting in for those people. Attempts to guilt you back are happening, manipulation to return you to the old role is being tried. Love bombing to restore the previous dynamic is underway, but you're not going back ever. Because you finally understand that some doors are meant to close, some chapters are meant to end, some people are meant to become lessons, not lifelong connections. Your comeback requires you to be ruthless about who gets access to you. Not mean, not cold, but discerning, strategic, protective of your energy. Because every person you allow in your space either adds to your frequency or drains it. There's no neutral. And you're done tolerating energy vampires just because history exists with them. History doesn't earn anyone the right to drain your present or poison your future. This is the part of transformation where you get to be selfish, where you get to choose yourself over everyone else. And if that makes you the villain in someone's story, so be it. You'd rather be the villain in fiction than the victim in your own reality. Everything you're experiencing right now is preparation. The voice activation, the boundary setting, the cord cutting, the standard raising. None of it is random. All of it is orchestrated, because rooms you're about to enter require this version of you. Collaborations coming need you healed, clear, and unshakable. Opportunities approaching will test whether you truly know your worth or if you're still negotiating it. The universe is training you right now, making you practice speaking up in low-stakes situations so you're ready for high-stakes conversations, having you set boundaries with service providers and collaborators so you can set them with investors and partners, teaching you to walk away from what doesn't serve you in your personal life so you can do it effortlessly in your professional life. This isn't punishment, this is preparation, this is boot camp for the empire you're building. And here's what most people miss about preparation. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to push you past your limits. It's supposed to make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. Because the version of you that existed before this dark night couldn't handle what's coming. That version was too people-pleasing, too afraid of conflict, too willing to accept less than deserved. That version had to die so this version could be born. This version is the emperor, the authority, the one who walks into rooms and changes the energy just by being present, This version doesn't apologize for taking up space, doesn't shrink to make others comfortable, doesn't negotiate worth that's non-negotiable. This version is magnetic because it's authentic, powerful because it's aligned, unstoppable because it finally knows what was always meant to be known. You were born for this, and everyone who tried to convince you otherwise was projecting limitations onto your limitless potential. Your relationship with money is about to shift dramatically, not because you're manifesting harder or visualizing better, because you're finally valuing yourself accurately. For years you accepted less than you deserved, worked for free or cheap because you wanted to help people, gave discounts because guilt about charging full price existed, stayed in situations that underpaid you because you thought that's what had to be done. But that was never about generosity. That was about not knowing your worth. But something clicked recently. You started seeing yourself through new eyes. Recognition happened that your time is valuable, your expertise is valuable, your energy is valuable, and valuable things cost money. Real money, not exposure, not promises, not opportunities, money. And the moment requiring it started, the moment walking away from anything that didn't meet financial standards began, the money started flowing differently. This makes people uncomfortable, especially the ones who were benefiting from your broke state. Preference existed for when you were accessible because you had no choice. Preference existed for when you said yes to underpaid opportunities because you needed the work. Preference existed for when you didn't know your value because it kept you available to them. But now that pricing yourself properly happened, now that financial boundaries got established, anger is showing, and that anger tells you everything you need to know. You were never valued. The discount was valued, so you're letting anger be. You're letting talk about how you've changed continue. You're letting statements about you being all about money now exist, because you understand something others don't. Money isn't everything, but it's the tool that builds everything. It's how you execute your vision. It's how you create impact. It's how you live the life you were always meant to live. And pretending money doesn't matter while struggling to survive is just spiritual bypassing disguised as enlightenment. You're in restoration mode now, not hermit mode. There's a difference. Hermit mode is hiding from the world. Restoration mode is strategic withdrawal to rebuild everything that got broken. You're not running away. You're running toward the strongest version of yourself, and that requires solitude, silence, space away from everyone who's been drinking from your well without ever filling it back up. Your phone stays on do not disturb without apology. You decline invitations that don't align with your energy without guilt. You spend entire days alone, and loneliness doesn't exist anymore because you've discovered something powerful. Your own company is actually incredible. You're interesting, you're creative, you're visionary. And when you're not constantly managing other people's emotions, you have energy to invest in your own dreams. People don't understand this phase. Depression or antisocial behavior or going through something gets assumed, and you are going through something. You're going through the most important transformation of your life. You're going from someone who lived according to other people's expectations to someone who creates your own reality. You're going from a people pleaser to a priority protector. You're going from scattered and overwhelmed to focused and unstoppable. During this restoration, you're discovering things about yourself you never had space to explore before. You're learning that you're not actually anxious when you're not around certain people. You're not actually tired when you're not giving your energy away for free. You're not actually confused when you're not listening to everyone else's opinions about your life. You're clear, powerful, certain, and that certainty is about to change everything, because clear people make clear decisions, and clear decisions create clear results, and clear results build empires. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today, join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks, and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. This is the moment everything shifts. You're standing at the crossroads right now. Behind you is the Matrix, the comfortable cage, the familiar dysfunction, the people who want you back because your presence made them feel better about their own stagnation. Calling is happening, texting is happening, attempts to guilt you back are being made, promises that will never be kept are being offered, reconciliations that don't address the real issues are being suggested. And for a moment, maybe you're considering it, maybe you're thinking about going back, maybe you're telling yourself it wasn't that bad. The pull backward is strong right now, stronger than it's been since you left, because your dark night is ending, and there's this brief window where going back still feels like an option, where you could convince yourself that overreaction happened, that you were too harsh, that maybe another chance should be given. This is the test. This is where most people fail. This is where convincing happens, that familiar pain is better than unknown possibility. But then you remember how it felt to swallow your truth daily. You remember the anxiety that lived in your chest. You remember the exhaustion of pretending to be someone you're not. You remember the emptiness of achieving things that didn't even matter to you. You remember why you left. And suddenly the choice becomes crystal clear. You're not going back. Not to those people. Not to those situations. Not to that version of yourself, ever. You remember specific moments now. The times you bit your tongue so hard you could taste blood. The nights you cried yourself to sleep because you felt so unseen. The mornings you woke up dreading the day ahead. The conversations where you explained yourself until exhaustion hit and understanding still didn't happen. The moments where you sacrificed your needs to meet theirs and received no gratitude, only more demands. You remember all of it, and that memory is your anchor. That's what keeps you from going backward. In front of you is the unknown, the unmarked trail, the path less traveled. It's scary because you've never been here before. It's lonely because most people are too afraid to walk it. It's uncertain because no guarantee exists of what's on the other side. But here's what you know with absolute certainty. Staying on the known path would have killed you eventually. Maybe not physically, but spiritually, emotionally, creatively. The person you would have become if you stayed is someone you couldn't even recognize in the mirror. So you choose the unknown. You choose the scary path. You choose yourself even when choosing yourself means walking alone. And the moment you make that choice, the moment you commit fully to your own expansion, something shifts in the universe. Doors that were locked suddenly open. People who are actually aligned start appearing. Opportunities that match your energy start flowing. Not because you manifested them, because you finally became the person who's ready to receive them. This is where your comeback becomes irreversible. This is the point of no return. Once you make this choice with absolute conviction, once you commit to never going back, the universe locks in your decision. It closes the doors behind you. It makes return impossible, not by force but by evolution. You literally become too big for those old spaces. Your energy becomes incompatible with those old frequencies. Going back wouldn't just be uncomfortable, it would be impossible. You've outgrown it completely, and that's when you understand the gift of the dark night. It wasn't trying to destroy you, it was trying to make return impossible. It was burning the bridges behind you, so you'd have no choice but to move forward. It was eliminating the option of retreat, so you'd be forced to advance. The universe knew that if any way back existed, you'd take it during a weak moment, so no way back got created. The only direction available became forward, and forward is exactly where your destiny lives. Now we get to the good part. Everything you've been building in silence is about to become visible. The collaborations you've been preparing for are arriving. Real partnerships with real people who match your energy and respect your vision. These aren't the fake connections you had before. These are soul tribe. People who celebrate your wins without jealousy, who support your dreams without competition, who show up for you the way you've always shown up for others. The first real connection that appears after your dark night will shock you, because you forgot what reciprocal energy feels like. You forgot what it's like to give and receive in equal measure. You forgot that partnerships can be effortless instead of exhausting. This person shows up and matches your energy immediately. No games, no tests, no proving yourself. Your value gets seen instantly because operation is happening at the same frequency, and that's when you realize this is what you were waiting for. This is why everyone else had to go. Your financial situation is transforming, not overnight, but steadily, consistently, because you're finally valuing yourself properly. You're charging what you're worth. You're saying no to opportunities that don't meet your standards. You're walking away from anything that treats you like you're desperate, and the market responds to that energy. Clients who can actually afford you start appearing. Projects that actually value your contributions start manifesting. Money that actually reflects your worth starts flowing. But here's what's different about this money. It doesn't come from hustle. It doesn't come from grinding yourself into the ground. It doesn't come from sacrificing your peace for a paycheck. It comes from alignment, from you showing up as your authentic self and being compensated fairly for it. This is what abundance actually looks like. Not chaos, not stress, not burnout, but flow, ease, resources appearing exactly when you need them because you're finally in sync with your purpose. Your voice is fully activated now. You speak your truth without rehearsing. You set boundaries without apologizing. You walk away from what doesn't serve you without explaining. And people either rise to meet your standards or remove themselves from your life. Either way, you win, because you're surrounded by people who actually deserve access to you, who actually appreciate your energy, who actually reciprocate your investment. The empire you're building doesn't look like what you thought it would. It's better because it's authentic, it's sustainable, it's built on truth instead of performance, on boundaries instead of people-pleasing, on standards instead of desperation. Every brick in this foundation is solid, every decision is aligned, every person in your circle is there because placement got earned, not because you were too afraid to remove them. You're not building this empire for validation anymore. You're not trying to prove anything to anyone. You're not motivated by showing haters wrong, though watching success get witnessed is definitely satisfying. You're building because building is who you are. You're creating because creating is your nature. You're expanding because expansion is your birthright. And that internal motivation is what makes you unstoppable, because external circumstances can't shake you anymore. Opinions can't derail you. Setbacks can't stop you. You're locked in. You're focused. You're inevitable. This is your comeback manifested, not just in theory or potential, but in reality, tangible, visible, undeniable. The people who doubted you are watching in silence now. Because what can be said? The evidence is right in front of them. You did exactly what you said you would do. You became exactly who you said you would become, and you did it without support from doubters, without approval from skeptics, without permission from gatekeepers. You did it because you decided it was non-negotiable, and that decision changed everything. That power you had since your first breath was never actually about abilities or talents. It was about knowing, about seeing, about refusing to accept lies as truth. As a child, you knew when adults were being fake. You felt when energy was off. You saw through masks that everyone else accepted, and punishment happened for it. You were told that you were wrong, that you were too sensitive, that you needed to stop being so perceptive because your gift threatened facade. But you can't unknow what you know. You can't unsee what you've seen. That gift didn't go away. It went underground. It hibernated through your conditioning. It waited while you learned to play along. It stayed dormant during all those years you pretended not to notice the lies, but it never died. And the dark night, that was it waking back up. That was your original blueprint reactivating. That was the real you, remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. You're not the same person who started this journey. That person was afraid to speak up. You speak your truth effortlessly now. That person tolerated disrespect. You walk away from it immediately now. That person accepted scraps. You demand the full meal now. That person was trying to fit into spaces that were never designed for them. You're creating your own spaces now, spaces where your energy is valued, where your voice is respected, where your vision is celebrated. The people watching you now, the ones who hoped failure would happen, are in shock. Because you didn't just survive the dark night, you dominated it. You didn't just escape the matrix, you're thriving outside it in ways beyond comprehension. You're operating from a frequency that can't be accessed because inner work got refused by others. Shadow facing got refused. Boundary setting got refused. Walking away from what was comfortable but killing got refused. So watching from the outside is happening now, with narratives being created to explain your success that have nothing to do with the truth. But you're not concerned with narratives anymore. You're not worried about opinions. You're not bothered by resentment, because you finally understand something that sets you free. Perception of you from others is none of your business. Your responsibility is to show up as your authentic self, to honor your voice, to protect your peace, to build your empire, to live your purpose, and you're doing all of that now. Effortlessly, powerfully, inevitably, the comeback is complete now, but understand what that means. You're not back where you started, you're not returning to the old you, you're arriving at who you were always meant to be, the version that existed in potential from your first breath, the blueprint that got buried under conditioning and trauma and survival. That blueprint is now activated, online, operating at full capacity, and no going back exists from this. So here's where we land, chosen one. That secret you've carried since birth. It wasn't a secret at all. It was a promise that one day you would step into your full power, that one day you would use your voice without fear, that one day you would build a life so aligned with your truth that settling would become physically impossible. That day is today. That moment is now. Your comeback isn't coming. Your comeback is here. You were born for this. Every betrayal prepared you for this. Every heartbreak strengthened you for this. Every dark night forged you for this. You're not exiled. You're elevated. You're not excommunicated. You're emancipated. You're not outside the matrix looking in, you're above it looking down, and from up here, from this height, from this frequency, everything is clear, the path forward is obvious, the next moves are apparent, the destiny is certain. The dark night lifted not because external circumstances changed, but because you changed. You evolved, you transformed, you became someone who doesn't need the light to see, someone who carries your own light, someone who illuminates the path for others who are still stumbling in darkness. That's your role now, that's your purpose, not just to survive the dark night, but to show others it's survivable, to prove that comeback is possible, to demonstrate that the power people are looking for outside themselves has been inside them since their first breath. Welcome back to yourself, chosen one. Welcome back to your power. Welcome back to your voice. Welcome back to your throne. You never lost it. You just forgot where you left it. But now you remember. Now you're seated. Now you're ruling. And everyone who tried to keep you small is about to witness what happens when a chosen one finally chooses themselves. This is your comeback. This is your rising. This is your empire. And the best part, you're just getting started. The dark night lifted, now comes the dawn, and in this light, You're unstoppable.